All right, we're live. And okay, yeah. Still I don't know, StreamYard it's a little weird sometimes. Well, it's not weird, it's more user error on my part, but whatever. I'm the one who can't be bothered to read the user's manual. Anyways, so tonight just to quickly go over a couple things of what has been happening here. Last week I was going to do a stream, but then I had to cancel it last minute. And tonight I'm going to kind of recap of what last week's stream should have been. And then also going by the description for tonight's stream, you have an idea of what we'll get into. So, anyways, it's okay. Who do we have in the chat here? Looks like nobody is in the chat. That's wonderful. Um, what we're going to do. Oops, let me turn that off there. All right. You know, the first stream when I started doing these again, the first one was about how happy I am that fall is here, summer's over. A thing that's crazy about this time of year is you go outside and you see the people who are too eager to wear their fall clothes. It's, this transition period from summer into fall is when, the moment it hits 60 degrees outside, you see the guy who's walking around wearing the pea coat with the popped collar, and he has the cashmere scarf with the matching hat on, and then all of this while when it's 60 degrees outside. And then there's always, the girl who, can't wait to get her fall wardrobe out of storage, and she's out wearing, the saddle boots with like the big loose knit scarf and, the big baggy sweater and all of that. And it's 60 degrees. Meanwhile, there's, people still walking around in shorts and t-shirts at the same time. It's an interesting contrast of summer and fall fashion all sort of coalescing into one. But what's weird about in Chicago here, I've discovered that there are these people who crave frigid temperatures. And they have the cold plunge, or I think they call it like the polar plunge or something like that in the wintertime. They swim in Lake Michigan when it's sub-zero, when the water is sub-zero temperature, and like sheets of ice are floating on top of the water, and they go and they swim in it in just swimming trunks and nothing else. There are always those type of people. I don't really quite understand them. uh, you know I guess maybe it's an adrenaline rush or something like that. But what you'll see around here, and I've never seen this before, is it could be 10 degrees outside. You go up to Target and you'll see some dude walking around in shorts, a t-shirt, and flip-flops when it's 10 degrees outside. It's more common than you would think. I guess that there are these people who are just these frigid weather junkies who just crave, the I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand it, but yeah, it's one thing that's interesting about Chicago in the wintertime. Um, so tonight's stream titled "I Almost Pooped My Pants." Time to complain. And this past week, the first thing too, just to sort of preface all of this, is that I didn't poop my pants, but oh, did I come very close to pooping my pants. And people are thinking like, well, okay, well, why would you go on a YouTube and tell this to everyone? Like, well, because comedians do that. And also, there's not a single person out there who has never almost pooped their pants. And there are plenty of people out there who have pooped their pants. But what happened with me, I was last Wednesday, I was at the grocery store and I was at the self checkout line ringing up my groceries, and then suddenly out of, the lower regions, I hear, and we all know that sound. We know that sound very well. And I was sitting there just scanning something and I hear, and I, sort of look like that. And I look around to see if anyone heard. It didn't really, I, there wasn't a sense of urgency behind it, but I know exactly what that sound meant. Uh, but I had one of two options, and I thought about this. I can, after I'm finished checking out, I can go back to, to the back of the grocery store where the restrooms are at and use, their restroom, which I've been in it a few times, and it's usually awful looking. There's usually, fecal matter and urine all over the seat. The toilet paper is this big industrial size, spare tire of single ply toilet paper. Not even really single ply, like half a ply or something, like something that it's about as dense as tissue paper, but with wood grain in it still, or something. We all know the gas station roll of industrial toilet paper. So I could go do that. Or another thing too, what I'm noticing around Chicago is you could go to use the restroom and there's a junkie passed out in the on the toilet, which is more common than you would think, and that's something that we can get into in a little bit. So yeah, I was weighing my options. I was like, okay, finish checking out, go and use the bathroom in the back of the store, or I can just use the bathroom at home, which the proximity of the grocery store to my apartment is a 5-minute walk. It's very close. It would just be really easy for me to just go walk home where I have my own toilet paper, which is some of the finest that you can buy, my own toilet, the comfort of my own place, So I was like, you know what? I can wait. I can wait long enough to get home and have the privacy of my own place. I check out and I start walking home, and no joke, about halfway in between, about 2 minutes into my walk, then suddenly I hear, and that's the bowels churning, the sort of that's your body telling you it's ready to push all of this out. But that wasn't at the right time, because I still had probably about 2 minutes to go till I was home, and I was also wearing shorts. So then I start using, like, every muscle in my body was contracted. Like my ass cheeks, I were just right squeezing my ass cheeks together so hard, and I'm walking with my ass cheeks like squeezing together, and I'm like, oh no. And then immediately the sweat starts to bead up on my forehead, and I'm walking sort of like how a toy soldier walks, or the royal guards at whatever palace it is in London, whatever. You know how they have that walk. That's kind of how I was walking when I was squeezing my ass cheeks together, like dear Lord. I'm walking down the sidewalk, and there's this guy riding his bike, and he turns and he kind of just like looks at me, and he has sort of that concerned look on his face, because he knew exactly what I was struggling with right now. He could tell, but he gave me that nod of confidence. It's telling me, you'll make it, brother. You'll make it. And so And then still again, then my bowels start to churn again, and then I'm just start thinking to myself, oh my God, please, for the love of God, there are people around this kid. And I start regretting that I didn't go back to the grocery store and just to wait to use the bathroom in the back of the store. I had to, be Mr. Cocky. I'm that type of guy who, if I go out grocery shopping and I drive home and there are like 8 bags of groceries, I tell myself I got this all in one load. I can do this in one load. Doesn't I could go to Home Depot, I could go to the grocery store, I could go to PetSmart, I could do all this, and you know what? Everything I have in the car, I can get it back upstairs in one trip. That's how I am. So that's why I told myself I don't need to use the bathroom in the back of the store. I can make this. Make it home, and I'll be good to go. So then I start regretting that decision, and then of course everything happens to. I'm sort of picking up the pace, but I learned that when you're using every muscle in your body to hold inside of you what your body is trying to push out of you, that you can't run. Running is just gonna, instead you do this weird sort of like really tight sort of just stride, um, and then everything will get in your way to delay you, like an old lady in a wheelchair or a group of kids who are right there, or you got to cross the street and of course it's a red light and then there's a car trying to turn and do all of that. Then finally, my apartment is right there, and it's like seconds feel like minutes. I get into the gate for my building, and this is where I reach the final boss. You know, the crocodile laden moat that I needed to cross, and that is that I live on the top level of a 3-story walk up. So I need to walk up 3 flights of stairs while holding in what you would not imagine, and also both arms full of groceries at the same time, too. Sweat beating up off of my forehead. This paranoid anxiety that if I can't hold it, this is going to be a terrible scene. Not to mention how embarrassing that would be. And I make it up the stairs. I start climbing up the stairs one by one, and I was pacing my breathing like how a woman gives birth. How they're like breathe, breathe, and like I that's how I was. But I was seriously just like pacing my breathing, timing it, just so I that way I could make it up the stairs and get to my place. And each level, I was like, I could do this. I could do this. But at the same time, I was just like, I don't know if I could do this. I hope I could do it. Then I reach the 3rd floor to my door. I'm trying to get the key into the doorknob, and I get in. I don't even set the groceries on the counter. I just throw them on the floor. I just race through my place, get into the bathroom, and it was the sweetest relief ever. I'm telling you, that was the yeah. After all of that, I've learned, don't have too much pride. Just use the disgusting grocery store bathroom if you need to, because it'll always hit you at the worst time. Like, do you ever notice? I've learned that this is how, when you're driving and you're like, "Ooh, I gotta pee real bad," and you're driving, but then you're like, well, "I'll be home in 10 minutes." I'll be home soon enough. But then, like, once you get home, suddenly you need to pee. But then the moment you get home is when you really need to pee, like right now, and it's your mind telling you that you're in a place of comfort, so it's okay to let it go. You don't, there's no reason to hold it. thing that your mind doesn't realize is that no, wait, you're still in your car, or you're still walking. You're not really home in the bathroom yet. You're yeah. So, anyways, who we have in the chat here? The dreaded brown note. Oh yeah, that is Rick is in the chat here. The brown note, absolutely. Here for poop talk. All right, concert buddy. Well, you're in the right place because trust me, there's a lot of poop talk. I mean, whew, Wednesday. I'm telling you that was the longest 5-minute walk ever, ever. And regrets. Could not tell you about that. Jason, low noise. Jason, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you, man. Confessions from the bowels of retribution. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Sweating Betty can make it happen. And you know what I was doing? Not only I was sweating, but I would lift on. I had running shorts on, and I would like stick my hand in to just so that way the elastic waistband wouldn't add more pressure to my waist. Just because the tension from the waistband just it's not helping you in that situation at all. Not at all. Got Marty in the chat here. The sweat is the indicator that you're about to ruin your day. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's yeah, the sweat beating up on your forehead, and then also the regret of not using the grocery store bathroom. Sweating and pooping, it is a thing. It is. But what do we have here? Blows a hole in the bowl. I'm telling you, it was incredible. Once I got inside, what a relief it was. And you know what? I'm going to have. I've been doing a little bit of research on the topic, and at a future date, I'm going to have a pretty interesting stream coming up about all of that. So subscribe and hit that bell so you get notifications. Yeah, so almost pooping my pants. I did not poop my pants, but I almost pooped my pants. And the thing is that everyone in this chat, you know that you've almost pooped your pants. Some of you have probably pooped your pants. It happens, and it always happens at the worst time too. I mean, yeah, there were times it could have been worse. Like I could have been on a date with a hot girl and then poop my pants or something like that. But still, wearing shorts while walking in the daylight, at least if I had pants on, it would kind of help contain it a little bit. Not really. It still would be awful, but yeah, having shorts on and yeah, not. Oh God. So I made it home. Made it home all right. What else did we have? The Chicago Marathon was last weekend. And one thing I don't understand about marathons, well, there are a lot of things I don't understand about marathons, but I don't understand people who like to run. Running, or what I'm confused by even more than just people who like running is that people who enjoy watching other people run. Where I live in Chicago, I'm sort of in the path of where they run. I don't even know what they call it really, but the racetrack, I guess, or whatever on Lakeshore Drive they run up, and the entire weekend is screwed up all just because of people who have the need to run. Running's got to be the most boring sport. They're not doing anything interesting. Like they're not running and juggling tennis balls, or they're not running while balancing books on their heads or anything like that. Or it's maybe if they were running and they were wearing like hot dog costumes or dressed up like superheroes, something like that would make it a little bit exciting. But there are people cheering for them too while they're running. They're not doing anything but running. And I live in the area of where they run, so it screws up traffic because I own a car and I live in the city. So anyone who knows what it's like owning a car and living in a city can sympathize, is that parking always sucks. And the day of the Chicago Marathon, there you can't have your car parked anywhere where the marathon, where the race is going. So that scales back the amount of available parking to about half of what it should be. So you're pretty much planning your whole weekend around just letting some people run. We and yeah, what was I oh yeah, people running, and how I don't understand why people enjoy running. Um, so yeah, my I had to plan my whole weekend just around uh, having a spot to park my car, because I know that if I moved out of that spot, I wouldn't be able to find another parking spot all weekend, and I'd end up having to either spend a fortune to keep it in a garage overnight or park it who knows where. Um, but yeah, the Chicago Marathon, I don't get it. Maybe, I think fleeing would make it interesting. Like if they were fleeing from a pack of rabid dogs, then that would be interesting. I just don't get the whole thrill of running and then people who enjoy standing there cheering people on while they're running. Um, and then the people who run too, they're always frail looking. Um, they're one of those types. They're frail. Uh, they, they don't look healthy. They're I don't get it. I don't understand runner's high. It's I was jogging once years ago. I was jogging and I fractured my ankle jogging. And I was like, you know what? Not doing that again. No more. No more. Done with that. Uh so what do we have here? You haven't truly lived unless you shit your pants. uh yeah. It's one of those things where when you get older, s- soon enough, it happens to everyone. It happens to everyone. Um, it's just where it happens is what makes it that much more awful. That's why they added bulls. The Spanish understood. Okay, yeah, right about running. Yeah, the Chicago Marathon. Not a fan. Not a fan of that at all. Luckily, it's only once a year, but still. All right, Marty. Yeah, Marty. Your message you sent me about Ace Frehley. I it's sad, and you know what? I'm still not sold, or I'm not going to say that I'm not sold. I just still haven't gotten into Kiss. I, I I need Marty. I need you to take me under your wing and show me the virtues of Kiss and their catalog. I don't know why it is, and I mean look behind me. Everyone can tell I'm a big music fan. There are times when I've said things that are crazy, like back when I was fooling myself into thinking that comedy could be a career for me. But I always told myself, well, I like metal more than I like comedy, and all of that. I like music more than all that, and I do. I studied music. I have a degree in audio engineering, and but there are a few bands that have never ever clicked with me, and Kiss is one of those bands, and I don't know why. And I've been thinking about this, that what is it about Kiss that I mean, really, I should really like Kiss, because I think their whole concept at the time was pretty cool. Of their costumes were all really unique. The persona, the merchandising, although I do get a little tired of something that's over merchandised. But at the time, it was different back then, though. In the 70s, having a pinball game or the Kiss movie, what is it? The Kiss Christmas movie, or they had dolls and everything. Merchandising back then was cool. Merchandising nowadays is over the top ridiculous. Uh, you can't get away from it nowadays. I mean, the merchandising that goes on that happens nowadays with underground one man bedroom black metal bands is the merchandising for that is more over the top than any band merchandising that was sold back in the 70s and 80s when everything was analog. What was it? Kiss is a hard sell. They were definitely a you had to be there type of band. I could see being, you know, 16 and going to see Kiss in like 77 or something like that, and it probably just blowing your mind, Um, I believe that it could be maybe a generational thing. I don't know, but I could see that being a you had to be there type of thing. Kiss meets the Phantom. Yeah, yeah. I've had one Kiss CD, which was a greatest hits comp. What just a generic one called Smashes something or other. It had some really terrible Photoshop clipping artwork. Like you could tell they were just random portraits of Gene and Ace and all of that. And then with like some fake crowd. It was really terrible early 2000s Photoshop cover. I had that CD at some point, and then I have um, when I was down at my mother's house recently, I found a box of old records that she's had in storage for ages. And there were some gems in that box that I had, and Kiss Destroyer is in that box. So I have Destroyer on vinyl. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm giving it I'm trying it. I'm giving Kiss a shot. I don't know if at this point in life it's a good idea. I'm hoping that there's not a switch that flips and now suddenly I'm a diehard Kiss fan, and because I just really I have enough of this behind me. A band like Kiss that has a catalog that like that. I don't think I need to be introduced or hooked on anytime soon. But 7 years old and seeing Kiss on TV, yeah, I believe that. Well, I felt the same way. When I was a kid, Van Halen were the band that introduced me to hard rock, and that was being a kid. Van Halen 1984. It's Jump was huge. Panama, great song. I still like Panama. I'll Wait, man. I love I'll Wait. I still listen to I'll Wait all the time. But I remember going to the roller rink and and that's where all the kids in middle school and everyone were hanging out at the roller rink, and Jump, was always being played. And so yeah, I could see it being something like that where Van Halen introduced me to hard rock. Eddie Van Halen, with the Frankenstein guitar with the red body with the white stripes all over it and all of that. Um, Probably the same type of thing. Kiss is the perfect compliment. I don't know about that. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I'm giving it a shot. It's definitely it's sad to see that Ace moved on. I heard he fell. So I heard it was a pretty bad tumble. Um, he did live to be 74, so he lived. I mean, my God, you know, one day of his life is probably more interesting than 5 years of my life. But yeah, I'm still giving it a shot. Still doing my homework, Marty. Hotter than hell. It's weird and okay. All right, cool. Will do. I'm interested in, the first one. Dressed to Kill was always an interesting one. I always liked the whole contrast of them in the Kiss makeup and all of that, but then wearing, suits. I always thought that that was a cool album cover. I mean, Kiss, the marketing was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I can't think of another band whose brand was as unique as Kiss. I mean, I think that they probably were the first concept band, really. Um, but yeah, so I appreciate them for that as well. And all right, so what do we have coming up here? Yeah, Dress to Kill. Poop, I hear you calling. Right. Oh man. I made it home safe. That's all I have to say. All right. I wanted to got a got a good amount of people in the chat. I appreciate everyone dropping in. Hear my rant about almost pooping my pants. Proud to say that I almost pooped my pants, but I did not poop my pants. Okay, oh yeah. Well, here's a good one. Okay, Alice Cooper. Yeah, Alice Cooper. Now, Alice Cooper was before Kiss, I think, right? Because Alice Cooper was, well, I guess he really started in the late '60s, I think. Didn't Alice Cooper have? He was in a band before he became Alice Cooper, and um, so I guess Alice Cooper did have, like a brand and an identity before Kiss did. Um, Genesis, yeah, yeah, true. Like the Peter Gabriel era Genesis. Yeah, which I'm a Phil Collins man. So yeah, I am a Phil Collins man for sure. All right, so next week I'll have a little more stuff to rant on. I'm doing some stand up this week. Um, what was it? Oh yeah, I'm doing some coming of age material. Oh my god. Yeah, stuff. Yeah, just things about getting old that. Oh, anyone who's old knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, so I'm doing some stand up this week. I think next weekend, maybe on next Sunday, I'll have a recap about some of the stand up that I did, and we'll see. So, all right, everyone who showed up, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.